inspired by opera. Playing after many years, I switched from natural science to social sciences, but not in the sense that I completely closed the business with the natural sciences. At least we ignore the broader reality of a human being, of a unit, of a community, of a society, which is necessary to know to implement any natural science innovation in a sustainable way. Your discourse becomes a quite different quality, and then you are able, what I mean with, also with you, to switch from a pure interview, which has also his function and necessity, but to switch more into a dialogue. And I would argue that the dialogue integrates what is also in the interview, a learning process, but there's more potential for mutual learning process. I try to not to focus on details, sometimes yes, but more on the whole system. On the, okay, when you ask me about my life, this is also what I prefer to ask people. First of all, how is your life? And then they fill up what they talk about with whatever. It could be something about tillage, it could be something about their family structure, but it explains you at least also why an innovation, a natural science innovation could take place in a family, a farm, a community or not. And without this knowledge about life of the people, you miss, I would say, key information to better really understand how an innovation could fit in a system, to become an innovation and to become accepted and to become relevant for a community. So at least it's some kind of a artificial separation of social and natural sciences. It's a societal question. And in a certain sense, again, we have to understand people's lifestyle, not only what they eat or how they produce in agriculture. It's about their personality, about their personal history, their values, and whatever, to understand why and how they do agriculture, or why and how they deal with food. And coming to a broader view about transformation processes in society, looking at the sustainability as the whole, looking at the earth today, more or less nothing really happened. You know, we did not change at least our system. And we realize that, okay, there are small changes, but under the line there is not a real change, because we ignore the whole system in what we are doing and what we are thinking when we talk about energy, for example. Yeah. To change the energy consumption means to change completely lifestyle. So that would mean here around the first district, just to stop with the traffic. Then this would have an impact on energy balance of Vienna. But it doesn't happen because lifestyle is not changing, and there must be a change in lifestyle, yeah, to get on this stage. Yeah. I want to develop a society towards sustainability and we look at the food issue, organic food and more vegetable, etc., we cannot isolate this step from other parts of our life. Yeah. So it means a reorganization of our life, and as a consequence for research, what we have really trouble to do it, but it would be the best, just always to study the whole system. It doesn't matter if it's an individual or an organization or a community. It's always about the whole system. I'm trained also when you are part of the organic agriculture. There is already some kind of a holistic perspective. Because it's quite very difficult to stay in one corner of the farm. It's always the farming system. So you look at soils, you look at fertilizers, you look at plants, etc., etc., and at least you realize you have to combine everything. And then the next step is the farm is embedded in a village, and then you have to combine that. Yeah, it's always, yeah. It's not so easy to just to say stop. Of course, in research you must be pragmatic, and then you have to separate any sectors where you focus your research. But in general, maybe there's not enough awareness and sensitivity where we set the borders of our research focus. Ignoring if we set it here or here, that we exclude a very important factor which maybe finally is influencing the whole system, and we ignore this factor. Yeah? And we are inside a system doing something and think we find the point, but the real point is then in the neighborhood of our system we are studying. This was once a hypothesis for one project on monasteries here in Austria. There was the reflection that there's no real step forward in sustainability, and maybe there's another dimension which we ignore and which we should integrate in our research. And then the question came up, okay, what's the role of ethics and what's the role of reflexivity? Philosophical dimensions of our life. And so we started with this project on monastery spirituality and how spirituality might be a factor to influence sustainable, more technical, ecological, economical orientations. But to make this point short, even those monasteries that were investing into sustainability, they were not able to link spirituality with sustainability. So there was sustainability, and this was some kind of a technical issue, and the other thing was spirituality. It was a very interesting project. And through the discourse with us, they suddenly discovered that they separated the creation divine from their daily work. Yeah? So the one was praying, and the other thing was to organize a farm or forest or bioenergy in the monastery. It was really very inspiring observations. The umbrella is to understand how sustainable processes could be implemented in society, however, knowing that there is a need for systemic change beyond the organic. And there's already confirmation in the organic movement. Organic movement in a sense, the farmers, the consumers and the processors. That what we discussed today with conventionalization or this bifurcation in this direction where farmers or consumers do not care about labels and all these issues. They just do it, and they do it as saying this is our life. And the other ones, they look at organic as something to earn money, or it's fancy, or it's modern, or whatever. And so this second group is already, maybe 50% is already not really an organic approach. It's energy intense, there is no fairness, etc., etc. But in the other part where they change the whole system, I would say they are steps forward, real sustainability. Now, as a research team, there's then the option to understand why the one group is able to do and the other group is able to do something else. And automatically we come back to the question, how is their life in general? And I mean, in a certain sense, you come in a dialogue and the other person also with a certain background and knowledge. And as a researcher, there's a message. Yeah? You want to sell something. You want to find out something. That is a fact. While the farmer, when you visit the farmer, he doesn't want to sell you anything. Maybe he would say, okay, I explain this researcher now what's the real thing here. It's some kind of a mutual discovering process. You have, I mean, you discuss or you start with some kind of an interview to understand the situation, first of all. And if your point is to intervene or to create any innovation in a farm, maybe there are some field trials and the question is how to implement the result of the field trials in the farm. I think when you come into the farm, you really do not know 100%. Maybe you have an idea. But then you start in some kind of a dialogue with the farmers, and the dialogue helps you to understand the conditions under which maybe something might be able to implement, and the farmer himself, herself, they also start understanding better, does this innovation make sense, and if yes, under which conditions. Yeah, so it's some kind of a mutual learning process, and of course the researcher can apply some tools, instruments to raise awareness for certain things. So the researcher is able to mirror something. So when the farmer is saying something, then the researcher could answer, okay, you mean that and that with that? Yeah. So you try to repeat, or you modify a little bit to provoke, and then it becomes some kind of not knowing better, but some kind of, you enter in a reflection process, and you are walking around the innovation, looking from different sides, and you understand the social, and you understand maybe specific weather conditions, and step by step you find out how, together with the farmer in this case, how to modify, maybe how to adapt the innovation that it really makes sense for a farm. And again, when we only look on maybe a plant production or animal husbandry issue, and we fail, or we do not know about the social, then it's an artificial discussion. And we realize that in a project, and a student of mine was so sensitive about that, that we modified our approach in a research in Nicaragua, and there we decided not to focus on a plant trial, how they implemented plant trial, but on this, how is life. And then we discovered 4 or 5 different migration patterns of this which are in these families. And these migration patterns finally explained why in some farms the innovation failed. It was not about natural science, it was about the migration patterns, and it was about economy, and it was about the family structure. And this was some kind of an entry point that we now continue in all of our research nearly to start with more this broader system perspective. I think exactly here we have to change in general the university system, that we have to integrate more discussion about the sense. What makes sense and where is the risk? And sense making and risk assessment are things that are outside, mostly outside of our research. So we have a specialized institute about risk management, etc., and it should be integrated in all of our research questions, and it should be integrated the question about the sense. And then in a broader context, not only for farmer or for agriculture, but for society as a whole. I mean, what else is the most inspiring than to listen about life? If something should become sustainable, whatever, I don't know if this word is not helpful, there is need for a deeper reflection. And now in my philosophy seminar, where I invite speakers from all kinds of disciplines, this year it's about freedom. And freedom is, or do we say liberty better? What is this freedom? Yeah, the freedom to let things go, to follow nature, how nature wants to develop, and to reduce intervention. And it's not about I need that or that or that, because this doesn't happen in an organic farm too. Because if so, you have to fertilize with mineral fertilizer to get something. Yeah. It's more this step back and to be satisfied about that what is, without intervening. And this is the art of organic agriculture. Yeah. To go a step back and just listening, observing, accompanying the nature, and sometimes just to support and to steer in the background, always reflecting how it could happen. I mean, life is possible in just participating and listening, observing, and in a certain sense organic, also the organic principles, the ethical principles of organic, they describe in a certain sense this attitude of making a step back, and with this step back to be part of something. Then I think so it makes sense, and this is the sense of life. And everywhere, what we realize personally always, when we go a step forward, there's always, you create tension. It's really the huge challenge to balance that. You have an idea, you want to do something, and what you mentioned from this person, it was strictly just to be. But we are in a certain reality where we every day are challenged to offer something, to show to modify something, to make the difference. Always this making the difference. Yeah? To produce, to make it better, to sell. Yeah? This starts in the institute. Yeah? It's how you present your lectures, how you create pictures, how you announce that, and how you report about your research. When you get whatever, a small article or a bigger article, then you have to sell it. Yeah? That people are aware about that. I mean, this is, at least it's some kind of illness in the society. And maybe the way would be better that we are always a little bit more silent. But the laws of this society are the other way around. And we have to find a way to show that it's also possible without selling. I mean, we spend a lot of time to think about, we make trials, experiments, whatever, to find out something which is new. And then, of course, we want to bring that into society. That's okay. It's yeah, I would say, yeah, the term attitude, the way how we do that is quite a relevant point. And today we more talk about participation, ignoring that the participation is steered by us, or we try to steer that. So it's not really balanced. And we do not invest a lot about this issue, to think about this attitude, the way how we communicate. But we discuss mostly then technical issues. Should we do that with Facebook or Twitter is now the discourse. But this is, I mean, this is not the point. The point is more the direct communication with people, or in our case with farmers or consumers. How we communicate with them directly, and how we look at the world, and it's some kind of a daily reflection. Yeah. The best is when you stand up in the morning to think about your attitude before you enter any communication with others, thinking about that. What is today my role in society? How I start with my different ideas and how I exchange that.